Captain Porter saw the plasma blade in Korith's hand. He saw the High Sovereign standing frozen in shock. He saw death racing toward the most powerful being in the Volturi Empire. Porter did not think. He simply moved. He threw himself between Korith and the throne. The plasma blade meant for Veloth's heart sliced across Porter's shoulder instead. Pain exploded through his body, but he did not stop. He grabbed Korith's arm and twisted with all his strength. The royal guards were moving now, but hidden figures emerged from the shadows around the throne room. Korith had brought supporters. Assassins in dark clothing attacked the guards with weapons drawn. The throne room became a battlefield in seconds. Sira screamed and ducked behind her father. Veloth finally snapped out of his shock and drew an ancient ceremonial blade from his throne. He was old, but he was still a warrior. He had not forgotten how to fight. Porter struggled with Korith on the ground. The Volturi was stronger, but Porter was desperate. Blood poured from his shoulder wound, but he refused to let go of Korith's weapon arm. If Korith got free, he would kill them all. Foolish human, Korith spat. You should have stayed on your worthless little ship. Now you will die for nothing. Maybe, Porter grunted through the pain. But so will you. He headbutted Korith with all his remaining strength. The blow stunned the traitor long enough for Porter to wrench the plasma blade from his grip. He tossed the weapon away and pinned Korith to the floor. Around them, the battle raged. The royal guards fought with skill and fury, but the assassins were many. Several guards fell with wounds. For a terrible moment, it seemed the traitors might win. Then new figures burst through the throne room doors. Lisa Grant charged in with a plasma rifle she had taken from the ship. Behind her came Dr. Helen Morris, wielding a medical laser that she had modified into a weapon. "Captain," Lisa shouted, "we could not stay behind. We are crew. We fight together." Lisa's shots took down two assassins who were about to overwhelm a wounded guard. Helen moved to Sira's side and protected the princess with fierce determination. The arrival of the humans turned the battle. The assassins had not expected reinforcements. They had not expected humans to fight for the Volturi Emperor. Their confusion gave the royal guards the opening they needed. Within minutes, the last assassins were dead or captured. Korith lay on the floor with Porter's knee on his chest. The traitor's face was twisted with hatred and disbelief. "This is impossible," Korith hissed. "Humans cannot defeat Volturi. You are the lesser species. You are nothing." Porter looked down at him with tired eyes. "Maybe that is your problem. You spent so long believing we were nothing that you never bothered to learn who we really are." The royal guards took Korith into custody. He would face justice for his crimes. The attempted assassination of the High Sovereign, the kidnapping of Princess Sira, the conspiracy to start a war that would have killed millions. Porter stood slowly. His shoulder burned with agony, and his legs felt weak from blood loss. But he remained standing. He would not show weakness here. Not now. High Sovereign Veloth approached him. The ancient ruler's face was unreadable. His guards formed a protective circle around him, but he waved them back. "You saved my life," Veloth said quietly. "A human. A member of the species I have despised my entire life. You threw yourself before a blade meant for my heart." "I did what needed to be done," Porter replied. "Nothing more?" "No." Veloth shook his head slowly. "It was much more than that. I have ruled this empire for centuries. I have seen countless beings seek my favor with gifts and promises. I have never seen anyone risk their life for mine without wanting something in return." He looked at his daughter. Sira stood with the human doctor who had protected her. She was crying but smiling at the same time. "My daughter told me that you saved her expecting nothing," Veloth continued. "I did not believe her. I thought it was a trick. I thought no species could be so selfless." He paused, and his voice grew heavy. "I was wrong. Porter swayed on his feet. The blood loss was getting worse. Helen rushed to his side and began treating his wound. "You need to sit down, Captain," Helen said firmly. "You have lost too much blood." "Not yet," Porter managed. "Not until I know this is finished." Veleth raised his hand and the entire throne room went silent. Every eye turned to the High Sovereign. Every eye sovereign. For centuries, the Velthari have called humans the lesser species. We have mocked them, despised them, refused to see them as equals. His voice carried to every corner of the massive chamber. Today, I learned how wrong we were. He turned to face Porter directly. Then, to the shock of everyone present, High Sovereign Veleth lowered himself to one knee before the wounded human captain. Gasps echoed through the throne room. No one had ever seen the High Sovereign kneel. Not to allies. Not to gods. Not to anyone. It simply did not happen. "Captain Daniel Porter," Veleth spoke loudly so all could hear. "You saved my daughter when you had no reason to help her. You risked war with my empire to bring her home. You took a blade meant for my heart. You asked for nothing in return except safe passage home." He lowered his head. "The Velthari Empire owes you a debt that can never be repaid. I kneel before you not as emperor to subject, but as a father who's been given back his child. As a ruler whose life was saved by a stranger." The throne room remained frozen. No one knew what to say or do. Then Sira stepped forward and knelt beside her father. Her voice rang out clear and strong. "I kneel to honor the humans who showed me that true strength is not found in conquest or pride. It is found in compassion, in sacrifice, in helping those who cannot help themselves." One by one, the royal guards knelt. Then the servants. Then the nobles who had gathered to watch. Within moments, every being in the throne room was kneeling before Captain Porter and his small crew of humans. Porter felt tears sting his eyes, but he fought them back. He had never wanted glory or recognition. He had simply done what was right. "Please," he said quietly. "Stand, all of you. We did not do this for honor. We did it because it was the right thing to do." Veleth rose slowly. He looked at Porter with new eyes. Eyes that saw humans not as a lesser species, but as potential allies. "As equals, you are either the most humble beings in the galaxy," Veleth said with a trace of wonder, "or the most strange. Perhaps both." Porter managed a weak smile. "We prefer to call it human." The days that followed were filled with meetings and negotiations. High Sovereign Veleth proposed a full alliance between the Velthari Empire and human territories. Trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchanges, everything that Koreth had tried to prevent. Kevin recovered fully under Dr. Helen Morris's care. When he woke and learned what had happened, he could not believe it. "I missed the part where the Emperor kneeled?" Kevin groaned. "I was unconscious for the best moment in human history?" Lisa laughed and patted his arm. "Do not worry. I recorded everything. You can watch it 1,000 times." Sira visited Kevin every day during his recovery. They talked for hours about their different worlds, their different cultures, their different dreams. A bond had formed between them that neither fully understood yet. Before the Starling departed for home, Sira came to say goodbye. She embraced each crew member in turn. When she reached Porter, she held him longest. "You changed everything," Sira whispered. "Not just for me, for my entire people. They will never see humans the same way again." "We did not change anything," Porter replied. "We just showed them what was always there. Maybe now they will take the time to look." The Starling pulled away from the Velthari station and began its journey home. Behind them, an empire that had wanted them dead now called them heroes. The image of the High Sovereign kneeling before a human captain spread across the galaxy. It became the most famous moment of the century. But aboard the small cargo ship, life returned to normal. Kevin healed and returned to navigation. Lisa kept the engines running smooth. Helen organized her medical supplies. And Captain Daniel Porter sat in his chair and looked out at the stars. They were just a cargo crew. They hauled supplies to places that bigger companies ignored. They were not soldiers or diplomats or heroes, but they had done something no army could have accomplished. They had bridged a gap between two species through simple kindness. They had proven that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or strength, that it was heart. Lisa brought Porter a cup of coffee and sat beside him on the bridge. She looked out at the endless darkness ahead. "What do we do now, Captain?" Porter took a sip of his coffee and smiled. "The same thing we have always done. Find someone who needs help. Help them. Then find the next one." Lisa nodded. "Sounds like a plan." The starling flew on through the stars. Small and ordinary, ready for whatever came next. Ready to prove once again that the galaxy had underestimated humanity. And somewhere in the Velthri Empire, a young princess looked up at the night sky and smiled. She thought of the strange, wonderful humans who had saved her life. The lesser species who turned out to be greater than anyone imagined. She could not wait to see them again. The starling moved through the darkness of Velthri space like a ghost. Every light on the ship was dimmed. Every system that could be shut down was silent. They were deep in enemy territory now, and one wrong move would bring death. Captain Porter sat in the medical bay watching Kevin breathe. The young pilot lay on the bed with bandages wrapped around his chest. Dr. Helen Morris had worked for 6 hours to save his life. The wound had been terrible, but Helen was skilled. Kevin would live if they could keep him stable. Sarah sat beside Kevin's bed and held his hand. She had barely left his side since the surgery. Porter watched her and saw something he had not expected. The Velthri princess had formed a bond with this human who had nearly died to protect her. "He will wake soon," Helen said quietly. "His body is strong. He fought hard to survive." Sarah looked at Porter with eyes full of emotion. "Among my people, such a sacrifice would create a life debt. Kevin risked everything for me. I owe him my existence." "Humans do not keep count of such things," Porter replied. "Kevin did what he did because it was right. He would want nothing in return except to see you safe." This seemed to affect Sarah deeply. She had been raised in a world of politics and power. Every action had a price. Every gift demanded payment. The idea that someone would give everything without expectation was still difficult for her to understand. Lisa entered the medical bay with a tablet in her hands. "Captain, we are approaching the outer boundary of the homeworld system. I am detecting hundreds of ships. The entire Velthri military fleet is gathered here." Porter felt the weight of what they were about to attempt. One small cargo ship against the greatest fleet in the quadrant. It was madness. But it was the only way. "Sarah, are you ready?" he asked. The princess stood from Kevin's bedside. Her face was pale but determined. "I know the frequency from my father's royal guard. They will recognize my voice and my codes. If they believe me, they will bring us safely to my father." They moved to the bridge. Through the window, Porter could see the distant lights of countless warships. They surrounded the Velthri homeworld like a wall of steel and fire. Breaking through that wall seemed impossible. Sarah sat at the communication console. Her hand shook slightly as she entered the secret frequency. Then she began to speak in the Velthri language. Her voice was strong and clear despite her fear. Porter did not understand the words, but he watched Sarah carefully. She spoke for several minutes. She paused. She listened. She spoke again. Her eyes filled with tears, but she kept talking. Finally, she lowered her hands and turned to Porter. "They believe me," she said. The commander of the Royal Guard knew my voice. He knew my codes. He is sending ships to escort us through the fleet. Lisa let out a breath she had been holding. They are actually going to let us through. The Royal Guard serves only my father, Sira explained. They do not answer to the military or to the court advisors. If I command them, they obey. It is the ancient law. Minutes passed like hours. Then 3 Veltari warships appeared from the fleet and moved toward the Starling. They were sleek and deadly, painted in the royal colors of gold and deep blue. They took positions around the human cargo ship like protectors. A voice came through the speakers. It was deep and commanding. Human vessel, you are now under the protection of the Royal Guard. Follow our lead. Do not deviate from the course we set. Any attempt to flee will be seen as an attack, and you will be destroyed. Understood, Porter replied. We follow your lead. The strange formation moved toward the fleet. As they passed through the lines of warships, Porter saw weapons turn to track them. The Veltari military did not know why the Royal Guard was escorting the human ship. They were confused and angry, but they did not fire. No one challenged the authority of the Royal Guard. The homeworld grew larger in the window. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and silver continents. Cities sparkled like jewels on the surface. This was the heart of an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. The escort ships guided the Starling to a massive station orbiting the planet. This was the seat of government, the place where High Sovereign Velith ruled his empire. Porter turned to his crew. Lisa, stay with the ship and keep the engines ready. Ellen, stay with Kevin. If anything goes wrong, you launch immediately and run. Helen shook her head. Captain, I should come with you. If there is trouble, you might need medical help. If there is trouble, having a doctor will not save us. But Kevin needs you here. Porter placed a hand on her shoulder. Take care of him. Take care of all of them. Helen nodded with tears in her eyes. Come back safe, Daniel. Porter and Sira left the ship together. They were met by a squad of royal guards in golden armor. The guards were tall and imposing, but they treated Sira with deep respect. They bowed to their princes and formed a protective circle around her. The commander of the guards approached Porter. He was an older Veltari with scars on his face from many battles. Human, I do not know why Princess Sira trusts you, but she commands us to protect you. For now, you are safe. If you betray her, I will kill you myself. Fair enough, Porter replied. They were led through the station's corridors toward the throne room. The halls were grand and decorated with images of Veltari history. Conquests and victories stretched back thousands of years. Among all those images, Porter did not see a single human face. The doors to the throne room opened. It was a massive chamber with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. At the far end sat a throne carved from a single piece of black crystal. On that throne sat High Sovereign Velith. He was older than Porter expected. His blue-silver skin had faded with age, but his eyes burned with sharp intelligence. He wore robes of deep crimson, and a crown of woven metal sat upon his head. Power radiated from him like heat from a star. Beside the throne stood a younger Veltari in advisor robes. His eyes were cold and calculating. Porter knew immediately that this was Korath, the traitor, the one who had arranged everything. Velith rose from his throne as Sira entered. His stern face broke into an expression of shock and joy. Sira, he breathed. My daughter, you are alive. Sira ran to her father and embraced him. The High Sovereign held her tight, and for a moment, he was not an emperor. He was simply a father who had thought his child was lost forever. Father, I have so much to tell you, Sira said. The truth about what happened. The truth about who is responsible. Korath stepped forward quickly. Your Majesty, this is clearly a trick. The humans have programmed some kind of imposter. We should arrest them immediately. Silence, Velith commanded. His voice echoed through the throne room. I know my own daughter. This is Sira. I feel it in my blood. Sira pulled away from her father and faced him with serious eyes. The humans did not kidnap me, father. They saved me. I was held by criminals for many cycles. They tortured me. They planned to sell me to your enemies. I escaped and nearly died in space. This human captain found me and risked everything to bring me home. Velith turned to look at Porter. His ancient eyes studied the human with intense focus. Is this true? The Sovereign asked. You saved my daughter? Yes, Porter said simply. I found her in a damaged escape pod. She was badly wounded. My crew treated her injuries, and we brought her here despite knowing your people wanted us dead. Why? Velith demanded. Why would a human risk his life for a Velthari? Porter met the Sovereign's gaze without flinching. Because she needed help. Because leaving someone to die when you can save them is wrong. Because my parents taught me that every life has value, no matter what species. The throne room was silent. No one had ever spoken to the High Sovereign with such plain honesty. Sira spoke again. Father, there is more. The ones who took me, they had help from inside your own court. Someone powerful arranged my kidnapping. Someone wanted to use it as an excuse for war. Korath laughed nervously. Ridiculous. The princess has been traumatized. She does not know what she is saying. But Velith was watching his advisor now. His ancient eyes had seen many betrayals. He knew deception when he saw it. Korath, the Sovereign said slowly. You were the one who first brought evidence that humans took my daughter. You were the one who pushed hardest for war. You were the one who convinced me to mobilize the fleet. Because the evidence was clear, Your Majesty. The humans are our enemies. They have always been our enemies. Or perhaps, Velith continued, you manufactured that evidence. Perhaps you wanted this war badly enough to sacrifice my only child to get it. Korath's face twisted with sudden rage. He pulled a weapon from inside his robes. A plasma blade glowed to life in his hand. You were supposed to remain blind, old fool. Korath snarled. The Empire needs strength, not weakness. Not peace with inferior species. If you will not lead us to glory, then I will find someone who will. He lunged toward the throne with murder in his eyes. The Starling arrived at a small trading station on the edge of neutral space. The station floated in the darkness like a metal island surrounded by ships of many species. This was a place where questions were not asked and secrets were kept for the right price. Captain Porter needed supplies and repairs. The enemy attack had damaged the hull and drained their fuel reserves. But more than anything, he needed information. Someone had framed humanity for kidnapping Princess Sira. Someone wanted war between humans and the Velthari. Porter needed to know who and why. He left Kevin on the bridge with strict orders. If anything went wrong, Kevin was to take the ship and run. Do not look back. Do not try to be a hero. Just get Sira to safety. Porter and Lisa walked through the crowded corridors of the station. Beings of a dozen different species moved around them. Some looked at them with curiosity. Others looked away quickly. Humans were not popular in this region of space. They found a repair shop run by a tired old mechanic. Porter paid him well to fix the hull damage and keep quiet about it. Then they moved deeper into the station to a section where the lights were dim and the air smelled of smoke and secrets. A small tavern sat in the corner of the lower level. Porter had been here once before, many years ago. The owner owed him a favor. Today he would collect inside the tavern. A Volthari male sat alone at a corner table. He was older with faded blue-silver skin and tired eyes. His name was Zeth, and he was one of the few Velthari who did not hate humans. He traded information and goods across the borders. He survived by knowing things that others wanted hidden. Zeth looked up as Porter approached. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Captain Porter, I did not expect to see you again. Word on the station says you are a wanted man. Porter sat across from him. Word travels fast. It does when the Velthari Empire offers a fortune for a human cargo captain. Zeth leaned closer and lowered his voice. They say you kidnapped Princess Sira. They say you are holding her for ransom. Is this true? You know it is not true, Porter replied. You know me, Zeth. You know what kind of man I am. Zeth studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Yes, I know you. You are the fool who once saved my ship when pirates attacked. You asked for nothing in return. A strange human. Different from what my people believe. Porter leaned forward. I found Sira in a damaged escape pod. She had been tortured by criminals who held her captive. I saved her life. Now, I am trying to return her to her father before a war destroys everything. Zeth's eyes widened. The princess is alive? And she is with you? She is safe on my ship. But someone powerful does not want her returned. Someone planted false information with the Velthari military. Someone wants this war to happen. Zeth was quiet for a long time. His fingers tapped against his cup as he thought. Finally, he spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. There is a faction within the Velthari court. They call themselves the True Blood. They believe the Empire has grown weak. They want war to restore Velthari dominance over the galaxy. Humans would be their first target. Who leads them? Porter asked. High Advisor Korath. He's the second most powerful being in the Empire. Only the High Sovereign himself holds more authority. Zeth shook his head sadly. Korath has the ear of Sovereign Veleth. He has been pushing for war for years. The kidnapping of Princess Sira gave him the perfect excuse. Lisa spoke for the first time. Are you saying Korath arranged the kidnapping? He had his own princess taken? I am saying nothing directly, Zeth replied carefully. But the criminal syndicate that held Sira has connections that reach very high. Higher than anyone wants to admit. If Korath wanted the princess removed, he could have made it happen. Porter felt anger burn in his chest. A man had betrayed his own people. He had allowed a young girl to be tortured and nearly killed just to start a war. How do we stop him? Porter demanded. Zeth sighed heavily. You cannot approach the Velthari fleet. They will destroy you on sight. You cannot send messages because Korath controls all communications to the High Sovereign. The only way is to reach Veleth directly, face to face. Make him see the truth with his own eyes. Sira knows codes to contact her father's personal guard, Porter said. They might listen to her. Zeth nodded slowly. That could work. The Royal Guard is loyal only to the Sovereign and his bloodline. If Sira can prove she is alive and free, they might protect you long enough to reach Veleth. He paused and looked at Porter with serious eyes. But you will have to get very close to the homeworld. And Korath will have forces watching for exactly that. He cannot let Sira reach her father alive. Porter stood from the table. Then we will have to be faster and smarter than him. He placed a credit chip on the table. Zeth pushed it back. Keep your money, Captain. Consider this payment for the debt I owed you. Save our princes. Save both our peoples from a war that no one truly wants. Porter and Lisa returned to the ship. But as they entered the cargo bay, they found chaos waiting for them. Alarms were screaming. Kevin's voice came through the speakers. Captain, we have a problem. 3 syndicate ships just arrived at the station. They know we are here. Porter ran to the bridge. Through the window, he could see the enemy vessels moving toward the docking area. They were the same ships that had attacked them in the asteroid field. They must have tracked us somehow, Lisa said. Maybe a signal we did not detect. There was no time to figure out how. There was only time to run. "Kevin, get us out of here now," Porter ordered. "Full speed. Do not stop for anything." The Starling's engines roared to life. The ship pulled away from the station just as the Syndicate vessels opened fire. Blasts struck the station's docking bay and created explosions that shook the entire structure. Kevin pushed the ship through the gap between two larger freighters. The enemy followed, but they were not as skilled at navigating tight spaces. One of them clipped a freighter and spun away with damaged engines. "Two ships still on us," Kevin reported. His hands flew across the controls. "Setting course for Vulthury space. It is our only chance." The Starling accelerated into open space. The two remaining enemy ships pursued with deadly focus. They fired again and again. Most shots missed, but some found their mark. The ship shook with each impact. In the medical bay, Dr. Helen Morris covered Syrah with her own body as sparks flew from a damaged panel. The princess cried out in fear, but Helen held her tight. "Stay calm," Helen said. "The captain will get us through this." Another blast hit the ship, and the lights flickered. Kevin made a sharp turn that threw everyone to one side. Porter gripped his chair and watched the enemy ships grow closer. "They are gaining on us," Lisa shouted from her console. "Our engines are damaged. We cannot outrun them." Kevin looked at the captain with determined eyes. "I have an idea, but it is dangerous." "Do it," Porter said without hesitation. Kevin aimed the ship directly at a small moon ahead. The surface was covered with canyons and sharp peaks. It was suicide to fly so close, but Kevin flew into the canyons without slowing down. The Starling twisted and turned through the narrow passages. Rock walls flashed past the windows just meters away. The enemy ships followed, but they were not as careful. The first ship clipped a canyon wall and exploded in a ball of fire. The second pulled up at the last moment and lost sight of the Starling. Kevin guided the ship out of the canyons on the far side of the moon. He was breathing hard and sweat covered his face. "We lost them," he said quietly, but his relief lasted only a moment. A new alarm sounded. Kevin looked at his screen and his face went pale. "Captain, an energy bolt hit the rear section during the chase." It struck Kevin's station. Lisa's voice broke. "Kevin has been shot through the chest." Porter turned and saw what he had missed. Kevin was still sitting at his console, but his shirt was soaked with blood. He had been wounded badly, but he had kept flying. He had saved them all while dying. Kevin looked at Porter with fading eyes. "Did I get us through, Captain?" Porter rushed to his side. "You did, Kevin. You did." Kevin smiled weakly. Then his eyes closed, and he slumped forward. Helen came running from the medical bay. She pushed past Porter and began working on Kevin's wound. Her face was grim, but her hands were steady. "He's alive," Helen said. "Barely. I need to operate right now." Syrah stood in the doorway. Tears streamed down her blue-silver face. She looked at Kevin, who had risked everything to protect her. "This is my fault," she whispered. "He is dying because of me." Porter turned to her with firm but kind eyes. "No, Syrah. He is fighting because of you. Because you matter. Because your life has value. Do not waste his sacrifice with guilt. Help us finish what he started." Syrah wiped her tears. She walked to the navigation console and sat down. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "I know the way to my homeworld. I will guide us there." The Starling continued toward Vulthury space. Behind them, the enemy had been stopped. Ahead of them waited an empire that wanted them dead, but they did not turn back. They did not give up, because some things were worth any price. The nebula surrounded the Starling like a thick purple fog. Strange gases and particles drifted past the windows. Kevin kept his eyes on the sensors, but the readings were scrambled and useless. That was exactly what he needed. The nebula is blocking their tracking systems, Kevin reported. They cannot see us, and we cannot see them. But if we stay here too long, we will drift into a gravity well. Captain Porter nodded. Give us 30 minutes. Then find a way out on the far side. The ship went quiet except for the hum of the engines. Porter made his way to the medical bay. Dr. Helen Morris stood beside the bed where the alien girl lay. Her wounds were bandaged, and her breathing had steadied. How is she? Porter asked. Stable for now, Helen replied. But she has been through terrible things. The physical wounds will heal. The other wounds will take much longer. The girl's eyes opened slowly. They were large and dark like pools of night sky. She looked at Porter and Helen with fear written across her face. Her body tensed as if preparing to run or fight. Helen raised her hands gently. You are safe here. No one will hurt you. We are friends. The girl did not seem to understand. She pressed herself against the wall and made a soft whimpering sound. Porter felt his heart break at the sight. She probably does not speak our language, Porter said quietly, but the girl surprised them. She spoke in broken words that were rough but clear. Friends? No friends. Only pain. Only cages. Helen moved closer very slowly. Not here. Here there is no pain. Here there is no cage. You are free. The girl studied Helen's face for a long time. She seemed to be searching for lies or tricks. But Helen's eyes held only kindness and patience. Finally, the girl's body relaxed just a little. Who are you? The girl asked. I am Helen. This is Captain Porter. We found you in your escape pod and brought you aboard our ship. We are humans. The girl's eyes widened. Humans? The lesser species? Porter almost laughed, but stopped himself. Is that what your people call us? The girl nodded slowly. The Valkyries say humans are primitive, weak, without honor. But you saved me. Why would you save me? Helen smiled warmly. Because you needed help. That is reason enough. This answer seemed to confuse the girl deeply. She sat in silence for several minutes, thinking about words she had never expected to hear. Finally, she spoke again. I am Sira, daughter of High Sovereign Velith, heir to the Velfari Empire. Porter and Helen exchanged shocked looks. They had rescued the most important person in one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. The princess, Porter breathed. You are the Velfari princess. Sira lowered her head. I was. Now I do not know what I am. They took me. The criminals. They kept me in darkness for many cycles. They wanted money from my father. When he would not pay, they planned to sell me to his enemies. Tears began to fall from her dark eyes. I escaped when they moved me to another ship. I found a pod and launched myself into space. I thought I would die. I wanted to die. Death was better than what waited for me. Helen sat on the edge of the bed and took Sira's hand gently. You are very brave, Sira, and you are not alone anymore. Porter left the medical bay and returned to the bridge. Lisa was waiting for him with a worried expression. I intercepted some transmissions while you were gone, Lisa said. The Velthari Empire is mobilizing their war fleet. They believe that humans kidnapped Princess Sira. Porter felt cold fear run through his body. They think we did this? Lisa nodded. Someone sent them false information. The Empire is preparing to attack human space. They will destroy colonies and stations. Millions of people could die. Kevin turned from his console. We have to return her immediately. We have to explain what really happened. It is not that simple, Porter said. The Velthari will not listen to humans. They hate us. If we approach their fleet, they will shoot us down before we can say a single word. The crew stood in heavy silence. They had saved an innocent girl from monsters. But now that act of kindness might start a war between two civilizations. Lisa slammed her hand on the console. This is not fair. We did the right thing. We saved her life. And now we are being blamed for the crime. Porter thought about everything that had happened. He thought about Syrah in the medical bay. He thought about the criminals still hunting them. He thought about the Veltari fleet preparing for war. There had to be a way through this darkness. We need more information, Porter decided. We need to find out who framed us and why. Then we need to find a way to reach the High Sovereign directly. Kevin shook his head. That is impossible, Captain. The High Sovereign is protected by the entire Veltari military. No human has ever even been allowed on their homeworld. Then we will be the first, Porter said firmly. He returned to the medical bay and sat beside Syrah's bed. The young princess looked at him with curious eyes. Syrah, I need your help, Porter said. Your people believe we kidnapped you. They are going to start a war. Many innocent beings will die on both sides. Syrah's face filled with horror. No, my father would not. He is proud, but he is not cruel. Someone is pushing him toward war. Someone gave him false information. Do you know who might want this? Syrah thought carefully. Her hands twisted together in her lap. There are those in my father's court who hate humans. They believe war is the only way to keep the Empire strong. But I never thought they would go this far. Porter leaned forward. Is there any way to reach your father directly? To make him listen before it is too late? Syrah was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up with determination in her eyes. There's a way. My father's personal guard answers only to him. They have secret channels that bypass the court. I know the codes, but we would have to get close to Veltari space. Very close. Porter smiled grimly. Then that is what we will do. The Starling emerged from the nebula on the far side. The enemy ships were nowhere in sight. Kevin set a course for the edge of Veltari territory. It would take days to get there. Days of running and hiding from both the criminals and the Veltari military. But Porter felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt purpose. In the crew quarters, Lisa brought food to Syrah. The princess had never eaten human food before. She took small, careful bites, and her eyes widened with surprise. This is good, Syrah said. Very different from Veltari food, but good. Lisa sat with her, and they talked. Syrah asked many questions about humans. She wanted to know about their families, their dreams, their fears. Everything she had been taught about the lesser species seemed wrong. Why did your captain save me? Syrah asked. He gained nothing. He risked everything. Lisa thought about the question. That is just who he is. Who we all try to be. When someone needs help, you help them. It does not matter who they are or where they come from. Syrah looked at her with wonder. The Veltari do not think this way. We help those who can help us. Kindness without reward is considered foolish. Lisa smiled. Maybe that is why you call us the lesser species. Because we do foolish things like saving strangers in the dark. Syrah was quiet. Then she smiled too. It was the first time she had smiled in many cycles. Maybe foolish is not the right word, Syrah said softly. Maybe the right word is brave. The cargo ship Starling drifted through the cold darkness of space near the border of Veltari territory. Captain Daniel Porter stood at the bridge window and watched the distant stars. He was a man of 45 years with gray hair at his temples and tired eyes that had seen too much of the galaxy. His crew was small but loyal. They hauled supplies to colonies that the bigger companies refused to visit. Lisa Grant sat at the engineering console and checked the power readings. She was young and smart with quick hands that could fix anything on the ship. Kevin Shaw handled the navigation with calm, steady movements. He never panicked even when things went bad. Dr. Helen Morris was in the medical bay organizing her supplies. She was the oldest of the crew and had treated wounds on dozens of species across many worlds. The quiet of the bridge was broken by a soft beeping sound. Kevin leaned forward and studied his screen. He looked up at the captain with concern on his face. "There is a distress signal coming from the asteroid field ahead," Kevin said. "It is weak, but I can trace it." Porter walked over and looked at the data. The signal was coming from deep inside Velthari claimed space. The Velthari were a proud and powerful empire. They viewed humans as lesser beings and kept strict borders. Any human ship caught in their territory could be destroyed without warning. "Can you identify the source?" Porter asked. "It looks like an escape pod," Kevin replied. "Small design. Probably holds 1 or 2 passengers. The signal has been active for at least 6 hours." Lisa turned in her chair. "Captain, if we cross into that space, we could start an incident. The Velthari do not give second chances." Porter knew she was right. The safe choice was to ignore the signal and continue on their route. But something in his chest would not let him turn away. Someone was out there in that cold darkness. Someone was waiting for help that might never come. "Take us in," Porter ordered. "Slow and careful. Kevin, keep watching for any Velthari patrols." The Starling moved into the asteroid field. Massive rocks floated all around them like sleeping giants. Kevin guided the ship through the gaps with expert skill. The distress signal grew stronger as they got closer to its source. After 30 minutes of careful navigation, they found it. A small escape pod tumbled slowly between 2 asteroids. Its hull was damaged and scorch marks covered the metal. Someone had tried to destroy this pod before it escaped. "Bringing it into the cargo bay now," Lisa said. The crew gathered in the cargo bay as the pod was pulled inside. Steam hissed from the damaged hull. Porter approached first with his hand near his sight-on. He did not know what to expect inside. Lisa forced the hatch open with her tools. A rush of stale air came out. Inside the pod lay a figure unlike any Porter had seen before. She was humanoid, but clearly alien. Her skin was a soft blue-silver color that seemed to shimmer in the light. Her features were delicate with large dark eyes that were closed. She was young, perhaps the equivalent of a human teenager, but it was her condition that made Porter's stomach turn. She was covered in wounds. Cuts and burns marked her arms and legs. Dark fluid that must have been her blood stained her torn clothing. Someone had hurt this girl badly and for a long time. "Get Helen down here now," Porter commanded. Dr. Morris arrived within minutes. She examined the alien girl with gentle, experienced hands. Her face was grim as she worked. "She has been tortured," Helen said quietly. "These wounds are not from an accident. Someone did this to her deliberately over many days. She is barely alive." They moved the girl to the medical bay. Helen worked for hours to clean the wounds and stabilize her condition. The crew waited outside in silence. Even Lisa, who always had something to say, could not find words. Porter sat in his captain's chair and thought about what they had done. They had rescued someone from certain death. That was the right thing to do. But they had also taken an alien from Velthari space. If anyone found out, it could mean the end of his ship and his crew. Kevin's voice broke through his thoughts. "Captain, I am picking up 3 ships approaching from behind the larger asteroids. They are not Velthari military. No identification signals at all." Porter stood quickly. "What do they want?" The answer came as a transmission crackled through the speakers. The voice was harsh and cold. "Human vessel, you have taken property that belongs to us. Surrender the Velthari female immediately. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship and take her from the wreckage." Lisa looked at Porter with wide eyes. "Property?" "They called her property. Captain, whoever these people are, They are the ones who hurt that girl. Porter's jaw tightened. He thought of the wounds on the young alien's body. He thought of the fear that must have filled her as she escaped in that damaged pod. She had chosen possible death over staying with these monsters. "Kevin, can we outrun them?" Porter asked. "Maybe," Kevin replied. "They have faster ships, but I know this asteroid field better than they think." Porter made his decision. He opened the communication channel and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Daniel Porter of the Starling. The girl stays with us. She needs medical attention, and she will receive it. If you want her, you will have to come through me and my crew." There was silence for a moment. Then the cold voice returned. "Foolish human. You have chosen death for yourself and your people. So be it." The first blast hit the Starling's shields and rocked the entire ship. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Kevin's hands flew across his controls as he pushed the engines to full power. The ship lurched forward into the maze of asteroids. "Hold on, everyone," Kevin shouted. "This is going to be rough." More blasts exploded around them. The three enemy ships pursued with deadly focus. They did not care about the asteroids. They did not care about anything except getting the girl back. Porter grabbed his chair as the ship twisted between two massive rocks. He looked at his crew. Lisa was already running to engineering to keep the engines stable. Helen was in the medical bay protecting her patient. Kevin was flying like his life depended on it, because it did. They were outgunned and outmatched. They were risking everything for a stranger they did not know. But as another blast shook the hull, Porter felt no regret. Some things were worth fighting for, even when the odds were impossible. The Starling disappeared into a dense nebula ahead. The enemy ships followed close behind. In the medical bay, the alien girl opened her eyes for the first time. She heard the explosions and felt the ship shake. She did not know where she was or who had saved her, but somewhere deep inside, she felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt hope.